fostering regional integration. Enugu states to partner local governments in genuine economic development. Africans' roots for first black pope in modern history. And Trump administration proposes major shakeup of U.S. State Departments. Details in a moment. President Bola Tinubu has lauded the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, for fostering regional integration. Tinubu spoke on Tuesday in Accra, Ghana, at the inauguration of a series of events to mark the regional body's Golden Jubilee. Special advisor to the President of Information and Strategy, Bayon Onuga, said in a statement that the President was represented by the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Bianca Ojukwu. Tinubu, also the chairman of the ECOWAS authorities of heads of state and government, said ECOWAS had remained true to the bold vision created by its founding fathers and was a beacon of hope for the region's more than 400 million citizens. The president urged ECOWAS members to reimagine the organization as a community of people and not merely as a community of states, where the region must invest in education, innovation, and skills development to unleash Africa's full potential. He also called for deepening economic cooperation, support for intra-regional trade, and that all hands must be on deck to ensure that the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, became a vehicle for genuine transformation. President John Mahama of Ghana said that the community's citizens must feel that ECOWAS was not just some bureaucracy, but a living organization that understood their hopes and aspirations. He also announced that Ghana would offer 1,000 scholarships to university students across ECOWAS sub-region to enhance educational opportunities for young people in West Africa. President Bola Tinubu met with suspended Rivers State Governor Similai Fubara in London. The meeting, confirmed by the African Reports, was held at the instance of Governor Fubara. Officials confirmed that the meeting was the first face-to-face meeting since Tinubu invoked Sections 305 of the 1999 Constitution on March 18th, declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State and removing Fubara and his deputy Ngozi Odu from office. Tinubu, who had been in Paris and then London since 2nd of April, agreed to meet with Fubara in an effort to defuse the ongoing crisis. Officials said that the pair discussed restoring a functional government in the oil-rich state. Although neither side disclosed specific details, presidential aides who spoke on condition of anonymity said that talks focused on possibility of Fubara returning to the office before the end of his 6 months extension, or suspension rather. The president returned to Abuja on Monday night after spending 18 days abroad. It was learned that Fubara's estranged political godfather, now Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, was not part of the meeting and was reportedly uneasy about such discussions taking place without him. However, Tinubu is expected to meet with Fubara, Wike, and members of the Rivers State House of Assembly to chart a lasting solution to the political crisis in the state. The administrator of Rivers State, retired Vice Admiral Ibok Ete Kwebas, has appealed to the Christian Association of Nigeria CAN Rivers State chapter to play a pivotal role in fostering peace, reconciliation, and stability in the state and ongoing political and security challenges. Ibas called for the synergy during a meeting with CAN leaders at the Government House in Port Harcourt. The administrator emphasized the importance of the church's moral guidance in restoring harmony. He extended Easter felicitations in describing the season as a reminder of hope, sacrifice, and unity. The administrator urged CAN to leverage its influence by preaching peace not only to their congregations but also to the communities, thereby promoting unity across ethnic and political divides to encourage forgiveness and reconciliation. In their speech, the leadership and executive members of the Rivers State chapter of CAN, led by Most Reverend Dr. D.E. Kala Dokubo, appealed to the administrator to involve the group in the peace-building process. He urged the administrator to ensure that critical aspects of governance are not ignored during the period of emergency rule, especially as it affects the environmental sanitation. Khan also decried a volume of misinformation in the publication space and urged the administration to tackle it headlong, adding that the developments portray the state as a place at war, adding that this is a disincentive for visitors and potential investors. The Enugu State Governor, Peter Amba, says the state government will partner with local governments for genuine economic development. There is an influx of foreign and local investors to the state as a result of a conducive business environment put in place by the state government. Governor Bahu stated this while declaring open an economic and development summit organized by the Oji River local government on Tuesday. He said there is an influx of foreign and local investors to the state as a result of the conducive business environment put in place by the state government. Correspondent Ugone Wala was at the council headquarters, venue of the summit, and now reports.
Local government investment opportunities, emphasizing that participation will unlock new possibilities and shape its future.
Oji River embodies the economic prospects that an entire state possesses, owing to its strategic location and abundance of
Who edited this thing?
and recently designated as an urban center. This local government area boasts of 25 untapped tourist sites, from waterfalls to scenic hilltops to cultural festivals that showcase the soul of the Igbo.
The State Commissioner for Culture and Tourism, Ugochima Dweke, noted that Oji River local government area is blessed with vast cultural heritage and tourist attractions. These resources, she said, should be tapped for the development of the area.
Oji River sits at the crossroads of Enugu State, Anambra State, and Abia State. We are not just a local government. We are a mother town with strategic reach, able to pull visitors and businesses from 3 states. This makes us a prime location for regional tourism and hospitality development.
The local government chairman, Greg Anyebutike, said the summit aligns with Governor Peter Mba's mandate to drive economic growth and development. Anyebutike encouraged potential investors to seize the opportunities in Oji River, assuring them of a conducive business environment.
Graciously, on the 11th of January, His Excellency declared the Oji River Urban Center. So today in Oji River,
Why not Senator representing in English? Minority.
You will even attract outsiders to come and invest in your place. Is ready to receive investment.
Some participants at the summit, including Honorable Jeff Mbak, former representative of Ochiriba in the Enugu State House of Assembly, and Dennis Ochiegwe, expressed optimism about the potential impact of the summit across various sectors in Ochiriba local government area.
All hands will be on deck, both providing security, both providing the land, and even infrastructure. And even when the infrastructure is providing, we have to protect, we have to own it. If everybody should be involved in the process, and they are committed, they are passionate about what you want. I have very high expectations. When I was governor,
This is what you want to see.
The Oji River Economic and Development Summit 2025 was no doubt a platform for stakeholders to explore investment opportunities and share ideas that can shape the future of the local government. It is therefore hoped that the rich natural water resources, agricultural potentials, human endowment, and strategic location present compelling attractions for investment and economic growth in the area. From Ochiriba local government area in Enugu State,
The Enugu State Government and the Lion Business Park Limited have signed a memorandum of understanding to build a world-class industrial and commercial hub within the Enugu Industrial Park Free Trade Zone. In a speech at a brief event at the Government House, Enugu on Tuesday, Governor Peter Mbah said the project would leverage the incentives associated with doing business in a free trade zone to attract foreign direct investments. According to him, the project will also promote human capital innovation and technology development as well as create jobs for shared economic prosperity for Enugu State, the Southeast, and Nigeria at large. He spoke about the administration's economic blueprint, which he said was to grow the economy and make the state the number one destination for investors in the country. Mbah also said that the location of the park was a product of strategy, innovation, and due diligence conducted by a team of economic experts in the administration. He gave the assurance that the administration would continue to make the state attractive to investors to set up their industries by providing the right incentives, such as electricity, paved roads, and other infrastructure. The firm's chairman, Dr. Okechukwu Mbonu, commended the governor for his visionary leadership, developmental strides, and achievements of his administration within a short period in office. Highlighting the objectives of the deal, Mbonu said that the company was poised to develop industrial and commercial hub that would catalyze trade, industry, economic growth, and create jobs for youth population. He called on the business community, private sector leaders, and global investors to maximize the perfect opportunities the park hoped to present to them to be part of the economic revolution. A social political group in Ebonyi State known as Francis Frontiers has voiced strong support for the leadership style of the state's Governor Francis Nwifuru. This was made known during the group's inauguration of its zonal and local government structures held in Abakaliki on Tuesday, where members of the group reaffirmed their commitment to backing the current administration, citing the governor's humanitarian efforts as a key motivation. Speaking after the event, the association's chairman, Chris Usala, stated that Francis Frontiers was formed as a support structure for Governor Nwifuru. He highlighted the governor's strides in both infrastructural and human capital development, which, according to him, have significantly improved the standard of living across the state. In separate remarks, the Deputy Chairman, Ben Nwovu, and the Vice Chairman for Ebonyi South Zones, Chidi Ejem, echoed similar sentiment. They emphasized that the group's aim is to help amplify the governor's achievements and encourage greater collaboration in promoting Ebonyi's development and visibility on a larger scale. The Francis Frontiers movement includes members from various tiers of government in the state, and it's focused on ensuring that the benefits of democracy reach all communities within Ebonyi. Members of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC in Ojokoro LCD in Lagos State on Tuesday staged a protest over alleged imposition of candidates for the July 12th local government election. During the protest, supporters of the chairmanship aspirants in the LCD gathered at the party secretariat, from where they marched to the council secretariat to express their grievances. Some of the protesters chanted, "He is not part of us. No room for strangers in our LCDA. Elders and leaders are to build things and not destroy, and we want an indigenous leader to lead us, not a stranger." Others threw their fists in the air, chanting, "Don't sell Ojokoro to strangers. Don't give us a stranger. We want people from within, not outsiders." One of the leaders of the protest, Olusegun Akinoso Olawale, said that the party leaders should not ratify any imposed candidates on the people. According to him, if President Bola Tinubu, a national leader of the party, could present himself for party primaries at the presidential level, all aspirants should be allowed to test their popularity in primaries. Another protest leader, Mrs. Raimot Bello, said that the protest was to prevent installation of an unfamiliar figure as the next council chairman, saying that he would not augur well for the party. Addressing the protesters, the chairman, Ojokoro LCDA Hamid Tijani, commended the protesters for being peaceful, assuring that no one would be imposed on the party. Recall that a similar protest erupted at a party stakeholders meeting on April 14th in the same area, ending the meeting abruptly. The All Progressives Congress has raised the alarm about a fraudulent scheme circulating among the public, falsely claiming to be a Bola Tinubu empowerment program. In a press statement released on Tuesday, signed by its National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, the APC alerted Nigerians to the scam message. The message requested banking details from recipients, promising a payment of 85,000 naira from Bola Tinubu empowerment, and urged them to call a specific number. Still to come, IGP task officers on diligence to general public, filling stations shut after Dangote Refinery's petrol price drop. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Global News on Signature TV. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, on Tuesday tasked police officers to be diligent and fair to the general public in discharge of their duties. These, he said, are achievable when officers uphold the highest standards of professionalism, integrity, and service. Egbetokun gave the charge during the commissioning of a newly built and donated multi-million naira divisional police station by a philanthropist, Dr. Ibrahim Ali, at Imane in Olamoboro local government area of Kogi. Represented by the Kogi Commissioner for Police, Mila Adantawaye, the IG said as officers serving in a community, they should be diligent, compassionate, and fair in their judgment in dealing with the public. He reminded them of their roles as law enforcers who should be training also adopt a high level of maintenance culture while thanking Dr. Ali for his magnanimity in donating the police station to the force. The IG urged other well-meaning Nigerians to emulate him in assisting the police in keeping the peace in Nigeria. In his welcome address, Dr. Ali said that the police station represents more than just a physical structure to the people of the community, but a shared commitment in fostering a secure environment where citizens can thrive. The Minister of Steel Development, Shuaibu Audu, has reaffirmed the federal government's commitment to creating an enabling environment for the steel sector to cooperate effectively. Audu made this known during a courtesy visit to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State on Tuesday at Ikoyi. The minister said that the purpose of the visit was to appreciate Lagos State government's consistency in creating an enabling environment for the steel sector to operate effectively. The minister promised that the federal government would ensure that steel industries in Nigeria were revitalized. He emphasized the importance of addressing challenges faced by the steel sector to meet President Bola Tinubu's objective of creating a $1 trillion economy. The minister said that the collaboration between the federal government and the Lagos State government was expected to boost the steel industry and contribute to the nation's economic growth. In his remarks, Sanwo-Olu, who was represented by the deputy, Dr. Olu Obafemi Hamzat, emphasized the importance of addressing the power sector challenges facing the industry. The governor highlighted the state's initiatives to boost power generation, including the request for proposal form for people to build 5 power plants across Lagos. He said that the process had started and the state planned to build its grids to embed power supply for industries. Sanwo-Olu said that the Lagos state government was ready to collaborate with the federal government to ensure revitalization of steel industries in Nigeria. The Nasarawa state government has pledged its support for the federal government's proposed measles rubella vaccination to be introduced in October 2025. Governor Abdullahi Sule pledged to support at a stakeholders meeting on Tuesday in Lafia ahead of the introduction of the vaccine. The stakeholders meeting was organized by the Nasarawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency in collaboration with the Office of the Wife of the Governor, Silifat Sule, and Center for Wellbeing and Integrated Nutrition Solutions. The governor, represented by his deputy, Dr. Emmanuel Akabe, emphasized that his administration accorded topmost priority to health and well-being of the residents. Sule explained that the vaccination would not only protect children but also strengthen the economy and the healthcare system of the state. Sule therefore urged chairmen of the 13 local government areas and their wives, caregivers, traditional and religious leaders to ensure that the program succeeds. The governor also promised that his administration would make the vaccine available and accessible in all healthcare facilities across the state. The measles rubella vaccination is to be administered to children between 9 to 15 months through routine immunization to eliminate measles and rubella. The World Health Organization (WHO) has said that many people in Africa still lack access to essential vaccines, with 1 in 5 children remaining under-vaccinated. The acting WHO Regional Director for Africa, Dr. Chikwe Iekwazu, said this on Tuesday in recognition of African Vaccination Week, which runs from April 24th to 30. Iekwazu emphasized that immunization was not only one of the most effective public health tools, but also a fundamental right, a shared responsibility, and an essential investment in the future. He highlighted that the theme for this year's African Vaccination Week, Immunization for All, is humanly possible, served as a powerful call to action. Iekwazu also pointed to significant progress in the fight against vaccine-driven polio. He noted a 93% decline in circulating variant poliovirus type 1 CVD DPV1 cases between 2023 and 2024 in the African region. Additionally, he said there was a 65% reduction in the CVBD2 cases during the same period, highlighting the progress made in combating the disease. To sustain this progress, Iekwazu called for increased domestic investment in immunization, sustainable financing for vaccination programs, and expanded vaccine access through health systems integration. He also urged communities to combat misinformation and vaccine hesitancy, while encouraging global partners to continue supporting equitable vaccine access across Africa. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) has released its new economic outlook report, reversing Nigeria's economic growth projections for 2025 and 2026. The April report was released on Tuesday during World Economic Outlook (WEO) at a press briefing at the ongoing IMF World Bank 2025 spring meetings in Washington, D.C. The report cut the forecast for Nigeria's growth to 3.0% for 2025 and 2.7% for 2026 from the 3.2% and 3.0% projection earlier stated in the January WEO update. The IMF report cited mounting global uncertainties and sustained weakness in oil prices. According to the reports, the IMF places the growing probability of a global recession at 40% compared to previous 25% estimation it released in October 2024. The IMF attributed the downward revision of the growth to a combination of domestic economic challenges and worsening global conditions. It said this includes trade tensions, reduced demand from advanced economies, and a significant drop in crude oil prices. In the report, the fund warned that without strong policy responses, Nigeria might find it difficult to maintain macroeconomic stability and external headwinds. The IMF Outlook Economic Counselor and Director of Research Developments Departments, Pierre Olivia Goranchas, said that emerging economies like Nigeria were particularly vulnerable due to their integration into global supply chains. Meanwhile, Kaduna State Governor Obasani has said that the past leaders from the north in the last 20 years should apologize to the people for the woes they are currently experiencing. The governor stated this in an interview on Tuesday. Sani expressed his pleasure that past leaders from the zone who have now turned critics of the current government. He claimed that the problem of northern Nigeria didn't start 2 years ago, but in the last 20 years, noting that those in government's positions during the period are part of the problem. Meanwhile, from some filling stations and petroleum products marketers of Dangote refineries temporarily shut down for the past 5 days after the latest premium motor spirits price dropped by the 650,000 barrels per day refinery. MRS filling stations in Abuja along Kubwa Express roads and others have not dispensed fuel since Dangote refinery announced a ex-depot fuel price reduction to 835 naira per litre on Tuesday, 16th April 2025. An official of MRS filling station said that the filling station is grappling with a loss incurred after Dangote's latest price adjustment. Meanwhile, another official at the filling station said that the retail outlet is built to reopen soon, noting that it has been undergoing minor maintenance. Other partners of Dangote refineries such as AP, Ardova, and Optima are dispensing fuel between 910 naira and 920 naira per litre in parts of Abuja as of Monday, 21st of April, 2025. Reacting to the development in an interview, the national president of Petroleum Retailers Outlets Owners Association of Nigeria, Billy Gillies Harry, said the latest fuel price drop affected the purchasing power of petrol retailers and marketers. According to him, indiscriminate price adjustments, whether downwards or upwards, is not good for the petroleum downstream sector and the Nigerian economy. Secretary General of the Pan-African Writers Association, POWER, Dr. Wale Okedira, has urged Nigerian authors to use their works to address societal ills and advocate for social change. Okedira made the call on the sidelines of the April edition of the monthly Reading and Writers Dialogue in Abuja. The Reading and Writers Dialogue is a flagship program of the Abuja chapter of the Association of Nigerian Authors that brings together authors and literal enthusiasts to discuss the works of a selected guest author. The event was also used by the writers to celebrate Okediron's 70th birthday and to launch his book, Medicine and Literature Without Borders. Okediron, a former national president of the ANA, says writers are the conscience and the voice of the people, and they are supposed to use their works to advocate for an egalitarian society. Now, Fubara is playing games. Now, Fubara is playing politics. This is what we have been expecting him to do all this while. Play the game with Wike. Who is Wike without President Tinubu? Because he's a minister. That's the reason why he even has the temerity, the guts to do what he's doing. Okediran, who has also served as chairman of ANA Abuja chapter, expressed delight for the writers' support and goodwill. He said, although writing was onerous, every writer ought to be on the top of their game, support one another, and use their works to advocate a fairer and better society for all Nigerians. According to him, his masterpiece, Medicine and Literature Without Borders, was written to explore the nexus between health practice and literature.
Writers are writing about fubara, insurgency, they're writing about corruption, they're writing about politics in the world. And through all this writing, we are praying that our society will better. Long ago, more than 40 years ago, in the Western countries, it has been confirmed that the health sector, doctors, nurses, health workers, they are supporting literature, make them better on their own way. Because the ones that comes from reading books is brought into their works. In fact, all over the world now, there is a section of literature that is called the medical humanities that is being taught in many medical schools all over the world.
Earlier in his speech, Chukwudieze, Chairman ANA Abuja, lauded Okediran for using the written craft to advocate equal society as well as hold leaders accountable. Still to come, Kenyan authorities shut down church after 2 deaths, 57 people rescued. UK and New Zealand prime ministers visit Ukrainian troops training in England. These and more after the break. To stay with us. Pope Francis' funeral will be held on Saturday in St. Peter's Square. Roman Catholic cardinals decided on Tuesday, setting the stage for a solemn ceremony that will draw leaders from around the world. The Vatican on Tuesday released photographs of Francis dressed in his vestments and laid in a wooden coffin in a chapel of the Santa Marta residence, where he lived during his 12-year papacy. Swiss guards stand on either side of the casket. His body will be taken into the adjacent St. Peter's Basilica on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. in a procession led by cardinals, allowing the faithful to pay their last respects to the first Latin American Pope. His funeral service will be held in St. Peter's Square in the shadow of the Basilica on Saturday at 10 a.m.
Pope Francis is tomorrow. He's going to bring you the basilica on Wednesday morning. There will be a small ceremony at the Cosmos to bring his body from the Casa San Juan, where the residents where he lived, to St. Peter's Basilica. Starting sometime Wednesday morning, we expect that mourners will be able to come into the basilica to visit Pope Francis, say their goodbyes ahead of his funeral gathering. We expect that world leaders coming forward to give a funeral, including U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, will be seated in the front row or towards the front of the funeral in St. Peter's Square on Saturday morning. We might see some images of the world leaders greeting each other. The ceremony will be solemn. There will be a funeral, commemorating the passing on the once Pope, Pope Francis after 30 or 12 years. He's the first Pope in Latin America. And we'll have to see kind of how it unfolds, but it should be a pretty solemn ceremony based on previous funerals. It's not really a lot of time for private engagement or
Among other heads of state set to attend were Javier Milei, President of France's native Argentina, Brazilian President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, according to a source in his office. Meanwhile, Africans are hoping one of their own could become the first black pope in over a millennium and build on Francis' legacy of championing the developing world, though the chances of that happening appear slim. Africa, steeped in religion, is in which the Catholic Church is growing fastest, according to Vatican figures published last month. Records show that only three men born in Africa or of African descent have been a pope in the 2nd, 4th, and 5th centuries AD. African Catholics attending services honoring Francis after his death on Monday said a pope from the continent was long overdue. Some African contenders have been circulating, but Vatican insiders are skeptical that any of them have a realistic chance of becoming pope, partly because none have been subjected to the same level of public scrutiny as most Western cardinals. That is a potential concern for an institution that has been shaken by devastating scandals in recent decades. In any case, forecasting who will become pope is notoriously dicey. Among African nations tipped as potential candidates are Ghanaian Cardinal Peter Kodwo Apia Turkson, 76, Democratic Republic of Congo's Fridolin Ambongo Besungu, 65, the Archbishop of Kinshasa and Ivory Coast, Cardinal Ignace Bessi Dogo, who is only 63. Africa posted about 20% of the world's Catholics in 2023 and added 9 million worshippers the previous year. Kenyan police recovered two bodies and rescued 57 people at a church in Rongo, Migori County in western Kenya. The rescue was called for after a family from Nyamira County stormed the church demanding for the body of their king who died at the church. Police officers retrieved the two bodies from the premises of St. Joseph Missions of Africa Church in Migori County on Monday. According to police reports, one of them, the body of a man, was found lying on the floor of a prayer room within the church compound, while fully covered in a white robe and wrapped in a gray sheet. The 57 people who were rescued looked weak and frail and were taken to a nearby hospital but refused to be attended to by medical personnel and instead began to make noises and sing religious songs. The rescue comes 2 years after more than 400 bodies excuse me, were exhumed from the Shakahola forest in eastern Kenya, nearly half of them children, in what was termed as one of the world's worst cult-related disasters in recent history. The United States is doing well in its discussions about a potential trade deal with China, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt told reporters on Tuesday. Leavitt added that the Trump administration has received trade deal proposals from 18 nations, while officials, including U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, are meeting this week with 34 countries to discuss trade.
Well, I spoke to our representative. Progress being made. We now have 18 proposals on paper that have been brought to the trade team. Again, these are proposals that are proposed to the Trump administration and to our government.
To drink coffee with that every morning.
Lutnick, Ambassador Greer, NEC Director Hassan, and Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, meeting with 34 countries this week as well. We are working constructively to ensure these deals are made on behalf of the American workers, the American people. And we wanted to share with all of you that we're doing very well with respect to with China. As I mentioned, there have now been 18 proposals in more than 100 countries around the world who are wanting to make a deal with the United States of America. The President and the administration are setting the stage for a deal with China. So we feel everyone involved wants to see a trade deal happen, and all is moving in the right direction.
The Trump administration is proposing a major overhaul of the U.S. State Departments that would eliminate more than 100 offices, including some working on war crimes and rights advocacy to ensure that the agency is in line with President Donald Trump's America First priorities. The plan, which Congress has been notified about, would eliminate 132 of the department's 734 bureaus and offices, and an internal State Department memo said. Undersecretaries will submit plans to reduce staff by 15%, the documents added. It was not immediately clear how many people would be laid off as a result of the revamp, but a report in online publication, The Free Press, which Secretary of State Marco Rubio posted on X, said an additional 700 positions would be eliminated in the shuttered offices. The shakeup comes as a part of an unprecedented push by Trump and his billionaire advisor Elon Musk to shrink the federal government, saying U.S. taxpayer money is misspent. The effort has led to the firing of thousands of government employees. Spokesperson Tammy Bruce told reporters on Tuesday the proposal was a roadmap and things could still change. The closure of a bureau focused on a specific issue does not mean work on that issue would be completely stopped, she said, without detailing how those issues would remain department priorities.
Today, under President Trump's leadership and the direction of Secretary Rubio, we are reversing decades of bloat and bureaucracy at the State Department. The Secretary announced a reorganization.
Now, Fubar is playing the politics that most Nigerians had actually asked him to do earlier.
We are facing tremendous
Who is Wike's God? Who is Wike's godfather?
from President Trump's American
Tinubu. And what does Tinubu want? Rivers, right? Rivers votes. Okay.
department is bloated,
So,
bureaucratic,
what is there?
essential,
Defects to APC
and this new era of great power.
or what? Promise him Rivers vote? It's politics. You can promise and fail. After all, Wike has not told anybody that he is in APC.
National interest.
So, if he defects to the APC now, it will be a plus. I mean, he'll retain that seat.
Department into the 21st century.
Play the same politics they play. U.S. Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty Markey said on Tuesday the FDA plans to remove petroleum-based synthetic food dyes from the U.S. food supply, citing studies that have raised concerns about the link between the dyes and the health conditions like ADHD, obesity, and diabetes. Speaking at a press conference in Washington, Markey said the agency would begin the process to revoke authorization for two synthetic food colorings within the coming months and would work with industry to eliminate six other dyes by the end of next year. The Food and Drug Administration in a press release said it plans to authorize four new natural color additives in the coming weeks while also accelerating the review and approval of others.
Today, the FDA is taking action to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and medications. For the last 50 years, American children have increasingly been living in a toxic soup of synthetic chemicals. The scientific community has conducted a number of studies raising concerns about the correlation between petroleum-based synthetic dyes and several health conditions. This Lancet study conducted a randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled study on food dyes concluded that artificial colors in the diet, quote, result in increased hyperactivity. So why are we taking a gamble? Cancer and diabetes in young people is going up at an alarming rate, and nobody seems to know why. We have to turn our attention to underlying causes such as chemicals and toxins that children are exposed to, not just more intensive chemotherapy.
The United States and Iran will sit down this coming Saturday as a third round of nuclear talks in Muscat, Oman's capital city. The first round, also held in Muscat, took place on April 12th. The second round was moved to Rome and took place on April 19th. On Monday, 2 days after the second round of negotiations took place, U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States and Iran had very good talks about Tehran's nuclear program. Washington wants Iran to halt production of highly enriched uranium, which it believes is aimed at building an atomic bomb. Tehran, which has always said its nuclear program is peaceful, says it is willing to negotiate some curbs in return for the lifting of sanctions, but wants watertight guarantees that Washington will not renege again as Trump did in 2018. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani at the State Department in Washington on Tuesday. Both men shook hands in a photo op and left the room without making any remarks. Qatar has been a mediator between the United States and Iran, as well as with Russia, in an attempt to find a peaceful solutions in Iranian crisis. The country has also made a series of attempts to mediate between Russia and Ukraine and has helped arrange the return of children from both countries who were separated from their parents during the war. Meanwhile, President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Tuesday that a Ukrainian delegation meeting officials from Western countries in London on Wednesday would have a mandate to discuss a full or partial ceasefire. He also told reporters at the briefing that Ukraine would be ready to hold talks with Russia in any formats once a ceasefire is in place and the fighting between Kyiv and Moscow's forces has stopped. The talks in London, which are set to bring together officials from the United States, Britain, France, Germany, and Ukraine, come amid a flurry of intense US-led diplomatic efforts to find a way to end Russia's war in Ukraine. Zelensky said that he would be happy to meet US President Donald Trump later this week when they attend the funeral of Pope Francis.
We are ready for this stage. We are also ready to state that after the ceasefire, we are ready to sit down in any format. For a complete ceasefire, that after a ceasefire, we are ready for any format of negotiations with them. Any format. I think America is a real leader. We want them to participate. We want them to put pressure on Russia. But we are ready to answer for our words. If tomorrow the Russians are ready not just for a ceasefire, and if they indeed ceasefire, we are ready to sit down for talks and move on to other steps to end the war. If at least something is actually done, and not just talk. Ukraine does not legally recognize the occupation of Crimea. There's nothing to talk about.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his New Zealand counterpart Christopher Luxon visited a training centre for Ukrainian soldiers in England on Tuesday. During the visit, the leaders were expected to discuss plans to step up defence and security cooperation, with ministers being instructed to work on a new joint defence partnership between the two countries, the statement said. Starmer said Britain and New Zealand had stood shoulder to shoulder for generations in pursuit of peace and stability. The Kremlin said on Tuesday that Russia is ready to consider a proposal by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky for a halt to attacks by both sides on each other's civilian infrastructure. Both sides are under pressure to demonstrate progress towards ending the war in Ukraine, now well into its fourth year, after US President Donald Trump threatened last week to abandon attempts to get them to reach a deal. The presidents of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, and Chile, Gabriel Boric, reaffirmed their commitment to international trade and globalization on Tuesday during a bilateral meeting held during Boric's state visit to Brazil. The two leaders emphasized their support for multilateralism in a world challenged by Donald Trump's tariffs war, refusing to choose between commercial partners. The meeting commemorated 189 years of diplomatic relations between Brazil and Chile, resulting in agreements to enhance cooperation in areas such as organized crime, science, and migration, as both heads of states shared on their social media platforms. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez on Tuesday, his government will meet NATO's target of 2% of gross domestic product (GDP) on defense spending this year, long before his previous self-imposed deadline of 2029. He announced a plan to increase spending by 10.47 billion euros, focusing on telecommunications, cybersecurity, and biomilitary equipment. US President Donald Trump is pushing NATO allies to lift military spending as high as 5% of GDP. The European Commission has proposed allowing member states to raise defense spending by 1.5% of GDP a year for 4 years without punishing governments for increasing their budget deficits. Spain spends just 1.3% of gross domestic product on defense in 2024, the lowest among NATO members. Sanchez's plan will need to be approved by Congress, where his socialist-led government does not have a majority at present. Costa Rica's Paz volcano erupted on Monday, ejecting a column of ash and smoke over 3 kilometers high, according to the country's volcanological services. The authorities reported that the 2,708-meter high volcano exhibited intense eruptive activity for approximately 6 minutes. The Volcanological Services noted an increase in the volcano's activity since March, which has led to the restrictions on tourist visits, although not a complete suspension. Situated amidst dense forests and 50 kilometers from San Jose, by roads, Paz has been on an orange alert, the third level out of four since March. Video released on social media on Tuesday showed a huge fireball and thick smoke rising into the sky from the direction of a military area in the Vladimir region of Russia. Local media and telegram channels close to Russia's security services said a powerful blast ripped through a Russian town east of Moscow on Tuesday, where a weapons arsenal is located, prompting the evacuation of several villages. Local authorities declared a state of emergency in the Vladimir region. The defense ministry said that the fire had been caused by a breach of safety requirements and had resulted in the detonation of ammunition stored in a warehouse. Preliminary information showed there were no casualties. Vladimir's governor, Alexander Adviv, said earlier that an explosion had occurred in the Kesyak district and emergency personnel were working at the scene. He made a mention or no mention of what was hit. Baza, a telegram channel close to security services, said at least 10 to 11 explosions had occurred and firefighters from neighboring regions had been called in to contain the blaze. The district administration in Kesyak wrote on Telegram that evacuations were underway in the villages of Basovo and Mirny. At least 20 people were feared killed after suspected militants opened fire on tourists in India's Jammu and Kashmir territory on Tuesday. Three security forces sources said the worst attack on civilians in the troubled Himalayan region for years. Indian Home Minister Amit Shah said he was rushing to Kashmir to hold a security meeting. The attack occurred in Pahalgam, a popular destination in the scenic mountainous region where mass tourism, especially during the summer months, has resurged as Islamist militant violence has eased in recent years. One security source put the death toll at 20, while the second put it at 24 and the third at 26. All three spoke on the condition of anonymity as they were not authorized to speak to the media. The attack took place in an off-the-road meadow and 2 or 3 militants were involved. The Indian Express newspaper reported citing an unidentified senior police officer. The nationalities of the victims were not immediately known. And as the news is hour, many thanks for watching. Truly appreciate you. Join me in another 5 minutes for the morning show. I'm Charles Pius. See you in a bit. That's the game. Fubara has to play that game that Wike is playing. Let's see who wins it. I mean, he's the governor. He's got everything to lose. Wike's got nothing to lose. It's just an appointment. So if Fubara leaves, he leaves. If President Tinubu leaves, he leaves. He's at the beehive of the president. But I'm just saying. We just got to be very careful. Wike is already very angry and he's suspicious. Remember, there was something he said in the last meeting, in his last press conference that he did that was shocking and it's crazy. He said he made the president, he was the reason why the president won that 2023 election. Of course, he's alluding to what he did in Rivers State against the people's wish. So he's saying that he put the president there. So without him, there cannot be President Tinubu. I'm sure that Tinubu is beginning to read some lines and say, this guy, I better shock this guy before anything. But anyway, guys, for those who are looking for that particular news about the president meeting Fubara, you can go back and watch it. I think it's like the second or the third story or so. So go back and watch it as soon as I'm done with this live. Well, many thanks for being part of the program. I truly appreciate it. All right, take care. See you later.